What's up guys, Joseph Rakic from josephrakicfitness.com, and today in this video I'm going to be answering your fitness questions. So I did a Q&A on my Instagram and Facebook page, got you guys to ask me a bunch of questions, so right now I'm going to be answering them for you and hopefully answer one of yours.
How does fitness affect mental health?
Fitness can affect mental health in many ways. Obviously, if you're training, you're following a good meal plan, you're putting in work, you're putting in effort in the gym, it releases a lot of endorphins. And if you find yourself looking better, you'll start to feel better, you get more confidence, and that flows through to so many different aspects of your life.
Why is sleep so important?
Sleep is super important because what you have to understand, when you're in the gym, you're training, you're breaking down the muscle is not actually growing in the gym. The muscle is growing when you are resting. That is when most recovery happens. And when you are resting the most, when you're sleeping, that is when you make the most gains and the most progress. So sleep is super important. I advise 6 to 8 hours per night minimum. And if you can get that, you're doing all right.
How much does alcohol hinder gains?
Alcohol will hinder your gains somewhat because what you have to understand is drinking alcohol does lower protein synthesis. So that basically means the rate at what your body can utilize that protein for muscle building purposes. It also has an effect on the testosterone levels. Nothing major, nothing crazy, but it does affect your testosterone levels slightly. So drinking alcohol, even though it might not be the worst thing in the world, it's not going to help your gains.
What's the difference between whey versus pea protein?
The difference between whey and pea protein, at the end of the day, they're both protein powders, but whey protein is far superior. Reason being is because it has a higher BV. Basically, in simple terms, it's the higher quality of protein with higher leucine content. Now, protein gets broken down into many amino acids, and it's those amino acids that build muscle. Leucine being the most important amino acid when it comes to muscle protein synthesis and building muscle. Whey protein is highest in leucine.
Any tips to avoid injuries?
Tips to avoid injuries, you want to focus on doing lightweight prior to going heavy. So for example, if I'm doing bench press, I'm not just going to chuck on 3 plates right away and try that. I'm going to do a set with the bar. Just get the muscle moving, get the muscle working, get the blood in the muscle. Then add a 20 on each side. Still light, but I'm just trying to get the blood into the muscle before I go heavy. Also, you may want to look at dynamic stretching pre-workout.
Do you take creatine when cutting?
Yes, I take creatine when cutting. Creatine is great for building muscle, building strength, explosive power, holding more water in the muscle cell. Anything that helps build muscle is a great thing to use when you're dieting, trying to lose fat, because at the end of the day, you want to build muscle, you want to maintain your strength during a calorie deficit.
How do you break through a fat loss plateau?
Plateaus are always going to happen at some point. The only way to break through that plateau is to change something up. So you can either decrease your calories or you can increase your energy expenditure by training harder, training longer, doing more cardio, or you can do both. So it comes down to making a change. If you make that change, your body will kickstart its fat loss progress again.
Does meal frequency really matter?
No, meal frequency does not matter. I know if you read the bodybuilding magazines, 5-10 years ago, they said you have to eat 5 or 6 times per day to stroke the metabolism and keep it burning. That's not true. Basically, every time you have a meal, there is a TEF response, thermic effect of food. They were under the belief that the more times you eat, the more thermic effect of food burning you're going to get, which is your body burning calories, digesting that food. Let's take 2 scenarios. One diet with 3,000 calories spread up over 3 meals. Another diet, 3,000 calories still, spread up over 6 meals. Those 6 meals are going to have less of a TEF response, thermic effect of food. The 3 meals, because they're larger meals, are going to have a bigger TEF response because they're more calorie dense. But at the end of the day, 6 meals versus 3 meals, if calories are equal, the results are going to be the same. So meal frequency doesn't matter.
Do you warm up before you train?
I personally don't do any kind of warm up like a run or a jog or anything on a treadmill. But what I do for my own warm up is I do some light work prior to that exercise. For example, let's just say I'm doing barbell squats. I'll do a few sets of body weight just to get the movement, just to get the motion. Then I'll start off light and increase the weight from there. Like I said before, just to get the blood into the muscle before going heavy.
Should you train even if you're still sore?
That depends on what muscle you're sore. So for example, if your legs are sore from leg day, but you're training chest, that's perfectly fine. However, if your legs are still sore from leg day and it's leg day again, then I wouldn't advise to train your legs. Let them rest, let them recover. The recovering process is when the muscle grows. When you're in the gym, you're just breaking it down. You're breaking it down. You're breaking it down. You have to give it time to recover.
Do you take a protein shake right after a workout?
That comes down to personal preference, guys. Do you have to take a protein shake after your workout? No, you just have to consume protein. Also, the timing isn't that important either. What you need to focus on, and the most important thing to focus on, is having your total protein requirements throughout the entire day. My personal recommendations is 1 gram of protein per pound of your lean body weight. And if you spread that out over your meals, you're good to go. But if it helps you having a protein shake after your workout to meet your requirements, then go for it.
Should skinny guys take whey protein?
Yes, skinny guys can definitely take whey protein. Now, if you're skinny and trying to put on muscle, put on size, the most important thing for you is to make sure you are consuming enough calories. Enough calories to fuel your workouts, enough calories to grow. If you struggle to consume enough calories from whole foods, then and only then would I recommend to maybe look into using a mass gainer. Because at the end of the day, getting liquid calories is a lot easier than eating them.
Best exercises for Vcut lines.
So the Vcut lines, guys, are basically the lines from your obliques down to your groin, also known as the Adonis belt. This is created along a ligament, and this is visible obviously if your body fat's low, but it is from your TVA, which is your transverse abdominis muscle. So the real question here is, how do we train the transverse abdominis muscle? This muscle is a deep core muscle inside your stomach. It's worked on many different compound exercises: bench, squat, deadlift. But if you want to isolate it and you want to activate it, on its own, you can do exercises like planks or stomach vacuums. Those would be the best 2 exercises to really activate the TVA.
How do you recommend preventing a bloated stomach and abs?
Yep, so this is quite common, especially in the bodybuilding scene. You'll see some of the guys are pretty lean, but they still have bloated stomachs and bloated abs. It can come down to many factors, but for the most part, it is excess carbohydrate intake, excess fiber, and excess gluten. So fiber's good, you need fiber, but consuming excess amounts will bloat you to the point where it's pretty uncomfortable. So if you find you feeling quite bloated, maybe cut down your fiber intake. So if you're having oats for a lot of your meals, maybe cut that out and replace it with rice or cream of rice or something else that is low fiber.
Do you think ice cream is bad to eat?
Ice cream is not bad to eat as long as you fit it into your total calorie requirements for you and your goals. So what you need to understand is, depending on if you're gaining muscle or losing fat, you've got a certain amount of calories that you should be eating, a certain amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Now, you can have ice cream as long as you fit it into these numbers. And if you do so, it's actually a good source of calcium, which is important for muscle contraction.
Can you drink alcohol and still lose fat?
Technically, yes. You can still drink alcohol and you can still lose fat if you are in a calorie deficit, which means consuming less calories than what your body burns on a daily basis. Now, I don't recommend to go and drink alcohol because at the end of the day, it is just empty calories and it's not going to help you towards your goal. But to answer the question from a technical point of view, yes, you can, but it's not going to help in any way. It's going to hinder your results in somewhat of a sense.
What is beta-alanine good for?
Alright, beta-alanine is an ingredient that is often found in pre-workouts. If you've taken a pre-workout before, you might notice that you get really itchy or a tingly sensation. It's quite uncomfortable. This is because you have too much beta-alanine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, if you have too much, you get that tingly sensation. Some people like it pre-workout. Now, what does beta-alanine actually do? Quite a few things. It helps with strength. It helps with fatigue. Maybe, for example, you can do bench press, you can get 10 reps on a certain weight. If you've been taking beta-alanine, you might be able to get 11 or 12 reps. So it helps push you a little bit further and get out a few more reps, which will help with your muscle growth. It's also very good for endurance. That's why you often find this ingredient in most pre-workout supplements. I love beta-alanine, and that's why I've included it in my own pre-workout as well.
Does masturbation stop muscle growth?
I don't know why, but I always get this question so often in my DMs. No, I don't know where this myth came from or something. I think it comes from back in the day when boxers, prior to their boxing fight, they wouldn't have sex for a week because they believed it made them more angry or aggressive in the ring. It somehow transitioned into the bodybuilding scene. But no, it doesn't. I don't have any more detail on that, but don't worry, it's fine. Do what you do.
How do you lose love handles?
So love handles, guys, is basically the fat that's stored around your waist. especially on the hips. Now, you can't spot reduce body fat, so don't think that doing side bends or side leg raises or anything like that will help lose that body fat from there. You can't spot reduce. What you can do though is you can focus on overall fat loss, which is achieved through a calorie deficit diet. Now, if you're following a calorie deficit diet, you're consistent and you adhere to that diet for a certain amount of time, you will lose fat from all over your body, eventually losing fat from your love handles or your stubborn areas.
How do you fix uneven pecs?
This is actually another common question that I get asked so often. So uneven pecs, what causes that? It's actually uneven form without you actually realizing. So a lot of people, when they do bench press, they're on the bench like this, and without realizing, one elbow is slightly lower than the other. So when they push forward, they're pushing with more chest on this side, and their right hand is rolling over, so the shoulder is taking over and deactivating the chest. So when you're doing bench press, shoulders have to be identically in line, elbows have to be identically in line, they can't be slightly off. So what most people actually find is, for example, if you're right-handed, your left pec is probably bigger. If you're left-handed, your right pec is probably bigger. And that's just because natural pushing, your dominant side wants to roll over like that. So even if you don't notice, the bar is probably on a slight angle. So next time you're doing bench, maybe get a spotter to look at you, to look at your form, and get them to see if the bar is exactly straight or if there's a slight angle to it. If there's a slight angle to it, that is what is causing uneven pecs. More stress, more muscle activation, more muscle fibers being ripped on one side compared to the other. If this is the case, first thing would be to fix your form. Second thing would be to maybe do some additional work at the end of your chest workout on the lagging pectoral. So maybe you could do one arm dumbbell press, and maybe you could do one arm pectoral fly, just to get a little bit more stimulation in that pectoral muscle that's lagging.
What are the best exercises for rounded shoulders?
First off, we need to understand there's three main muscle heads. The front delt, the anterior, the lateral delt, which is a side deltoid, and the posterior delt, which is your rear deltoid. So round shoulders, it's going to come from your lateral deltoid. So any exercises that heavily activate your lateral delt. Dumbbell lateral raises, barbell upright rows would be my top two.
What's the best type of cardio for fat loss?
The best type of cardio for fat loss is the type of cardio that you love and you enjoy, because at the end of the day, it comes down to consistency and adhering to that cardio. But if you want to get scientific about it, HIIT cardio is probably superior. Reason being is because of the afterburn effect, which is called EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption. So HIIT cardio, I'll just quickly explain it, is basically when you do something 110% effort, all out, then you stop, cool down, rest, recover, and then repeat. A great example would be a hill sprint. Sprint up a hill as hard and as fast as you can, 10-15 seconds, stop, walk back down, have a 1-2 minute rest, and repeat that 5, 6, maybe 8 times. That is an example of HIIT. Now, it's a recovery process that the body goes through that burns so much calories. So for 24 to 48 hours after you've done that cardio, your body is burning through more calories just sitting on the couch watching TV. That is why it is so effective for fat loss, because it puts your body into overdrive and you just burn so much more calories. So if I had to pick one, I would say HIIT cardio, but then you have to also understand HIIT cardio is similar to weight training and it is pretty taxing on the body. And if those HIIT cardio sessions affect your workouts, then it may make sense to leave the HIIT cardio and just do low intensity cardio for the extra calorie burn. And there you go, guys. That was the questions about fitness. Hope I answered some of your questions. Hope you learned something. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comment box down below and I'll do another YouTube video on that. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel. If you need a meal plan, workout program, link is also in the description.